Welcome to Patty's Aquatics.
Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. My name is Adam and welcome to the fish room. So today is the day where I finally get to show you guys this river tank that I have been working on for so long. I've been planning it out in my head for probably almost 2 years now, but the actual concept of it came up in the last like 2 months I've been planning, and really it's always been a goal of mine to have this type of tank once I got my rainbow shiners, because I absolutely fell in love with these fish when I first got them, and I wanted to put them in a tank that's going to mimic more of their natural habitat, and really that's what happened here. And the downsizing project, if you've been following my channel, really kind of revolved and centered around this aquarium and where I wanted to put it and what I wanted to do with it. So today I get to show you guys all of it. Now I want to show you everything from the scape itself, how I put it together, how I planned it. I want to show you the filtration, the equipment on it. I'll show you the scape and the many times I thought about different ways of scaping it. I'm going to show you the plants that I got for it, obviously the fish, but at the very end, you don't want to miss this. I am going to feed these fish, and you're going to be able to see what these things do, really, what they would mimic in their natural habitat of how they would eat if food was dropped in, how they like to scatter and dip and dive into different currents. It is really cool to see, trust me. So with that being said, let's turn this camera around and let's get going. Hey all, I just want to interject here in this video quick and just say I shot this video in January. So this tank has been up for four months now, maybe something like that. And it's not going to look how it looks now, but I wanted to show you the process of setting this tank up and everything first. And then in the coming weeks, I'll show you exactly what it looks like currently and give you guys an up-to-date update. So enjoy, and just know this was filmed in January, and this was the beginning and processes of creating my river tank. Well, let's start off with an overview of this tank. Now, I absolutely love this tank. This is my favorite tank that I personally have ever scaped for me, that I enjoy to watch and look at. My wife has already come down here and asked what I'm doing, and I'm just sitting here in front of this tank just staring at it, just because there's so much action with these fish, and I absolutely love it. Now, what I love about this tank, like I said, is the flow for these guys. I have it so the water flow shoots down over these rocks, and current goes through there, and then it kind of ripples through this wood and gives them a little less flow down on this end, so they have the opportunity to either rest in the back or really hit the current in these different levels rippling off the rock from that wave maker. And I absolutely love it, and I love the activity that these guys have. Now, what went into really planning this? Like I said, I've been planning this tank in my head for the last couple of years, and it didn't turn out exactly how I envisioned originally, but it went through a few different scapes. But really, to start off with, let's start with the very beginning, and that is with the equipment I use, the filtration. Now, as you can probably tell, the green uplift tubes here, the classic Aquarium co-op uplift tubes, what I've got rocking in this tank is an Undergravel Filter. I got this from Aquarium Co-op, and to really go over this filter first, because this was the first step of setting this aquarium up, was I absolutely love this filtration system. Now, putting it together, it was so customizable. It is absolutely awesome that they come in these little triangle pieces, and you can clip them together to make whatever size bottom that you want to fit whatever footprint, whatever tank that you need. They simply clip together, and like I said, you can make it however you'd want. Now, I originally had got this filter to fill a 29 gallon and probably a 20 gallon. But then after I started this downsizing with my fish room, and I knew I was actually going to set this aquarium up, I kind of had the idea of like, wait a minute, what if I put that Undergravel filter in this tank? I think it would be absolutely cool. So that's what I did. So you clipped all those pieces together, and I made the bottom plate for the bottom of this tank. And then now with these uplift tubes, now typically in all other Undergravel filters that I personally seen, I'm sure there's plenty on the market, but they always have the holes ready for you where you're going to put your uplift tubes. Where this, it's customizable again too. You can place them wherever you want and move it however you want. You put that little collar at the bottom, and you attach your air stone to it, and then all you do is you put the uplift tube in there, the same uplift tube that you would use in the sponge filters that you get from Aquarium Co-op, and you set it up wherever you like. Now, originally I had 4 uplift tubes in this aquarium, but then I kind of thought this was a little overkill, so I went down to 3. So different, I'm going to show you different setups that I had for this tank and escapes. Well, this was also how I had different too. I had different ideas in my head of how I wanted to set it up, and it took a little while before I figured out what I wanted to do. Now with my uplift tubes, I put 2 of them up here that had the shooting up to the top, but then I kept this one off of it because I felt like the flow didn't need to continuously go this way. I wanted an area where there was maybe a little less flow, and that's why I did it that way. So now that we know that the filtration was the Aquarium Co-op Undergravel Filter, let's go next with actually the substrate that I used to go with that. Now, initially I typically always use like pea gravel when it comes to gravel, but all the research I've been doing and looking into it really suggested that aquarium gravel was the better option when it came to undergravel filters. So I went out and I bought some, and I decided to go that route because if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it right the first time. Now, the problem with that is this stuff is not cheap. My gosh, I never realized how expensive aquarium gravel really is. For a 25-pound bag, it was $25.99, and I had to use almost 3 bags of it. So it cost me dang near, what, almost 80 bucks for 3 bags of this to put in here, where the pea gravel would have cost me about $10. So and in the end too, when I look at this gravel compared to pea gravel, there really isn't much of a size difference, except for the pea gravel tends to have a little bit more rougher edges compared to the rounded edges of the gravel here. But so be it, that's what I got and that's what I used. Now, what I did was I put about a 2-inch layer throughout this entire aquarium and kind of measured it out, so I had about 2 inches everywhere. Now, obviously in an actual river scape, a lot of times people will have sand, but I know by looking into some research on these fish, they do like to live within rocky, pebbly areas of streams and rivers as well. So I feel I kind of mimicked a little bit more their natural habitat. And so I put that 2-inch layer in here for the best efficiency for this undergravel filter. I didn't want to put too thin because I didn't want any potential holes to break to help not get that efficiency from these undergravel filters. So time will tell to see how that all works out, but that's the gravel that I went with. Now the next thing was really the scape, and that's where I went back and forth quite a few times of what I wanted to do. Now I can show you some footage of what I originally set up, but my first real plan before I do that was really I wanted to put a rock pile in the corner and coming up down, and then having the flow going this way that it was, and then having some wood and some plants and like structure around. That was my initial plan. And then when I started setting this thing up, I kind of decided I didn't want an uplift tube in this front corner. I wanted to keep it in the back because I knew I was going to be putting a wave maker up there. So then I'll show you the first scape that I had on this, which was pretty plain Jane. It didn't have a lot of rocks. But I really liked the scape of it. I thought it looked pretty neat and cool, so that's what I first went with, and I even put the plants in with that. But then as I was starting to look at it a little bit, I'm like, well, this really isn't that river tank that I was looking for. It's a cool scape and all, don't get me wrong, but it's not that river style tank that I was looking for these fish and for this tank. And I knew I was going to regret it if I stuck with just that scape, because it wasn't what my plan was for this tank all along. So I switched it. I could show you some footage of that one. I switched it and I put some structure in there, and I put all the wood with the plants underneath the wave maker, and then I put the rocks into the center and left an open area on the back end. And I thought that was kind of cool too, because I kind of gave like a resting area underneath the wave maker where the plant or where the wood area was. But really when I started to do a little bit more looking into it, how an actual flow of a river goes, typically the flow will go over the rocks. It'll jetson over the rocks and create little jetties and little currents, and then the wood kind of goes downstream with it. So then I decided that's not exactly how I want to keep it yet. So I switched it, and I switched it to this, which was the final outcome, which I absolutely love. Now, the whole idea, like I said in the beginning, is to have your current come up over these rocks. And this is one area where I still may adjust it some, like the flow, or maybe move some rocks or add some rocks. I want the flow to really ripple off these rocks and be able to give different patterns and currents to be able to hit off those rocks where they are. Now, currently what it looks like is the water will come down, the current wave will shoot off this flat area, and it hits little currents here, because you'll see the fish dip and dive into this current right into this little section here occasionally. And when I show you when I feed fish later, this will be a big area to check out too, because it's really cool, because that, I believe, is where the biggest current right now is for the fish. And then as the current comes, it starts to break down and lessen, because now you're going to have the wood. Now I want the wood to mimic almost like it was jammed and logged downstream, and that's where it ended up. So that's how I kind of set this up. Now this is spider wood that I have in here, and I have two pieces, and I kind of intertwine them together to look like they got jammed up down a river so much. And then I put some plants down here on this end, and this will be the calmer end. And again, this is why I didn't put one of those uplift tubes to the center to put more flow, to make more current down here. I just wanted the operational part of the Undergravel filter with this uplift tube here. So that was really the idea along the scape when it came from it. Now, the next thing to go with it really is the plants, and really what my plans are for them long term, and I really got to see how they're going to adjust to this current as well. Let's start off on this end, and that is the jungle val I got. Now I got all my plants from Aquarium Co-op. Again, besides getting new fish, probably one of my favorite things is when I get home and I see a box from Aquarium Co-op on my front porch that I know I ordered something. And that's when I ordered a bunch of plants, and I ordered them all specifically for this tank and for this setup. And like I said, started off over here was jungle val. Now, the idea behind this one is, now I believe these, I just put them in probably about a week ago. I believe they're not grown underwater yet. I believe that's the old, is that immersed? I can never remember the difference, but I know what it is. Anyway, so they may die back, but the idea of it is I wanted to grow up thicker and kind of carpet the surface a little bit and have a little bit of flow up, and then maybe kind of fill in this area a little bit with that wave maker. I think that'd be kind of cool. That's the idea anyway behind that. And then I did add a little bit of dorsage in the back for my other tank, so it's not as tall as it goes down. I want the longer of the val up on this side and a little less over here. So that's the idea behind that. Now, I also got a few crypts that I put in here. I'll show the names of them here because I always kill those names. I put a few of them right there on the end where there's a little less flow, and I got one in the back corner there too. They may grow up a little bit. Now the idea behind that is to give these fish some areas to hide in where there's less flow, to get out of the flow if they want to escape from it for any reason. Now, as you can tell on the wood here, I have all different pieces of Busphalandra. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm terrible at that as well. Now I have two different types in here. I have the, I believe it's black pearl, and then the other type is a tissue culture that I got from Aquarium Co-op, and I think it's like a needle leaf. I'll put the name on the screen here so you can see it a little better. But I put them all in different types of nooks and crannies within this these pieces of wood. I really want to see how they take off in here. I have a couple pieces of them within other pieces, within other tanks in my fish room, excuse me, and they're doing pretty good, and I think they'll be pretty decent in here, but we'll have to see how they react to the flow and settle in pretty good, and we'll decide how that really goes with that. But that's the plants in here. So that was the overall scape. Like I said, the whole idea was always to get that current going from one side to the other, create different current lanes for these fish to be able to jet in and out of, but yet give them some refuge somewhere downstream, down tank, where they can hide out where the plants and where the wood would be, and just to try to create what this natural habitat would actually look like. Now for the fish, gosh, it was so cool. Like I mentioned, if you would have seen in a past video, I got some rainbow shiners from White Cloud Dynasty. I showed that video. I can link that above. Those fish, I can tell the difference between which ones are which in this tank compared to my other ones. Just by the metallic blue color on a lot of them are so strong. I quarantined them for about a week or so, and then I put them in here. They were the first fish I put in here. I can show a little footage of me pouring them in. And then next was obviously all the rainbow shiners I already originally had in my other aquarium. The plan always for them was to get them in here. I got them in here and I poured them in as well. And right from the start, they colored up and they looked awesome. And to this day, like I said, this tank has only been set up for probably like 2 weeks now, so it's very fresh and new yet. But just the activity level of these guys and what they do is even so much more different than they were in my original rainbow shiner tank where I had a little bit of current, because there's a lot more room now. I really wanted that bigger footprint for these guys. That 29 gallon I had them in was fine, but it wasn't enough. I really feel this 4-foot footprint is perfect for these guys. Obviously, if you had something bigger, it would even be better, but I think this is ideal. It really gives them that area to be able to rip in and out of that current, and I think that's really important, and they're really built for it too, and it's really cool. Now with the wave maker, I knew I wanted to put a wave maker in there, and I have like 4 different ones, and I kind of like played around with them until I found the one I liked. This was an old one I got probably like almost 2 years ago, and I never used, because when I got it, it was for my dirted tanks, but it was way too strong to be putting in them when I had the dirted tanks. Well, it works out perfectly for this one. It goes all the way across the glass almost, and it gives a nice big current through there, and I can adjust not only the speed of the current coming, but I can adjust the direction of the flow as well. Now, what I did do with this though, I do have it on a timer for at night to go off. Now, I realize in the natural habitat and in rivers, your current typically isn't going to stop at night, but in here, the current doesn't stop either. I've always got these uplift tubes going and creating some current and creating flow within the aquarium. I just feel like I'm just trying to be precautious, I guess, a little bit in the beginning here, because I don't want them to tire out. I don't want them to stress out from having too much current nonstop. I think it would be fine, because I do give them areas to be able to hide from. As you can see, like underneath the wave maker here, there's an area where there's not much current they can hide in. And then obviously back down on this end, there isn't as much either where they can escape it as well. But I really felt like putting timer on it at night, at least for the first couple months, just to make sure everything is copacetic, will be the best thing to do. Now, a few other things I want to touch on is, do I plan on breeding these fish? Well, absolutely, that is the plan with these guys. Now, am I going to be able to do it in this aquarium? That remains to be unseen. I have to see how this goes. Those shiners that I got from White Cloud Dynasty, I really want them to mature, obviously, for a little bit yet before I'd even consider that. I don't know if it's going to be possible in this tank, because I know they like to breed over rocks, and well, there's rocks everywhere, so I don't know if it's going to be possible to really dedicate an area for them to breed into a receptacle to pull out of here. I won't be able to community breed these guys, because they will eat any eggs or any fry that'll probably pop up. So I may have to pull some and create a breeding tank for them. So we'll see how that goes in the future. But I definitely want to breed these guys and be able to share these guys with everybody and get more for a community to even stock my own numbers up, because I definitely wouldn't even mind more in here. The other thing is, what about tank mates? I know that's something I've been going back and forth on, really. I do have some shrimp in here. I did add some shrimp initially before I even added the fish. I don't know where they all are. I'm sure they're hiding, and the current is something they've been adjusting to as well. I have different shrimp in here. I have some of my red rilly. I got some cherry shrimp and some blue dream, and I have a couple that I had crossed between my blue dream and my cherry shrimp, so they're hiding, I'm sure, within the rocks in the wood. But other fish, like I had contemplated putting some of my white clouds in here and letting them live in here and having more of a community tank as far as that goes. I still may put some in here. I'm not 100% sure. I'm really just digging the shiners in here right now, and that may be the course I just go. But I also would still like, no matter what, to get some hill stream loaches to go in here, because I think they would really fit into this style of tank and this flow, and I think they would really love that. So in the future, we'll see what we're going to do. Right now, I'm going to stick with just the shiners and the shrimp and let that go and see how it goes and let this tank mature. You know, because long term, obviously, with everything, even the plants, I want the plants to grow up and the Storsage and jungle veil to grow and kind of like block some of the uplift tubes a little bit so you don't see them as much. Not that they bother me. I think they actually kind of look cool. But, you know, it'll kind of blend all in once the plants grow in. And some of these rocks will eventually, I'm sure, get some algae on it, and they want that to flow with the flow and look so natural. You know, I'm really excited to see how this really progresses over time. But that being said here, let's feed these guys. I really want to show you guys the behavior of these guys when they feed. They're cool enough alone in a normal tank when you feed them, but to put them in here with this current, I found to be just one of the coolest things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed some Aquarium Co-op community pellets, community floating pellets. That's the staple that I give these guys. So I'll throw some in there now, and I threw it up on top, and what it's going to do is go down in that current, and then you're going to see them go nuts. Now again, remember what I said was this area here was that big current zone. You see them popping in and out of there, and it is just cool seeing them go nuts for this food as it circulates everywhere. Now this food, yes, it's going crazy over here in this area, but it does go downstream to some of the more lazy fish that want to hang out down here and just pick them off. But seeing the action right here in that current zone is so cool. Seeing them whip in and out of that, it is absolutely a cool sight to see, and I'll just let you guys enjoy this. But like I said, this aquarium, like I said, has been a dream of mine for quite a while, and I am extremely happy with it. It is probably, like I said, it's my favorite aquarium, bar none, that I've ever put together and I ever like to look at. I had a really heavily planted community tank in my 75 gallons some years ago before I had a YouTube channel, and that one was like awe-dropping to me to really look at all the time. But this one is like on a different level for me, not even from the plants, but it's just the whole thing put together, from the concept to the river aspect to the scape to the flow to the fish. Everything just fits together for me, and I absolutely love it. So I hope you guys love it too. So that being said, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you are not subscribed already, because I will be showing so much more content on this channel when it comes to this tank and these fish. These fish are going to be more of a centerpiece when it comes to my channel, because I absolutely love these rainbow shiners. I want to show you everything from those ones from White Cloud Dynasty maturing more. I'm going to show you more of their breeding colors when they really pop out. Hopefully show you breeding these guys in the future and seeing this tank really mature, the plants come in, and yeah. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy this tank, and I hope it lived up to the hype I've been giving it on this channel for the last how long. So I hope to see you again next time here at Patty's Aquatics.